6-game winning streak, and Roccat sits firmly in the middle of the table at 5-5. Surely, Roccat doesn't have what it takes to take down the EU LCS champions? Sound familiar? That is because time and time again, Roccat has beaten the odds and taken down G2. Now let's take a walk down memory lane to spring 2017, week 10, the beginning of the tale of the fabled Kingslayers. Roccat only got 6 wins the entire split, but 3 of those occurred in the last 3 weeks of play, where they beat Fnatic, Misfits, and finally G2, giving G2 their only loss of the split. But sadly, Rockat's late season surge didn't net them a playoff spot. Now, in the last week of summer 2017, G2 was locked in an epic battle with Fnatic for the #1 spot in the group and had to make quick work of Roccat to keep their hopes alive. But Roccat fought tooth and nail with impeccable team fighting, a Yarnan quadra kill, and an Ardent Sensor to beat out G2 and cement their title of Kingslayers. G2 lost the race for first place, but sadly for Roccat, they again fell short just for playoffs. Now fast forward to week 1 of spring 2018. Now Yarnan and Wadid, they've jumped ship to G2 to show them how to beat their former team. G2 has been rebuilt around superstar Perks, who has his eyes set on a 5th EU LCS title. But even with a reconfigured roster, Roccat continues the Kingslayer legacy and bops G2 Esports. And this is where we are today, the 23rd of February, week 6 of the spring split. Now G2 Esports, they are on a 6-game winning streak, an absolute tear. They're showing decisive, controlled, beautiful League of Legends, and their mid laner Perks is dominating every opponent. Now in this moment, the Kings of Europe look unstoppable and are set up perfectly for their match of the week versus Fnatic tomorrow. But this is the perfect stage for Roccat to strike. And today, things are different. Roccat isn't a hopeless underdog counting on a late season surge. They have 5 wins under their belt already. They control their own destiny. Today, taking down the rulers of Europe won't be for an upset, for a meme, or for the title of Kingslayers. Today, Roccat wants to make a statement to the rest of the league and take a huge step towards their first playoffs since summer 2015. Can they stop G2's 6-game winning streak? We're about to find out. But first, let's hear what Wadid said earlier about taking down his former team.
Thank you very much, Shox. I'm here with Wadid before their first game of the week. How are you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm feeling better than past weeks because we improved a lot as a team. So, like, we are showing off that we are actually improving as a team, and we are like finally building up G2 dynasty again. So yeah. I'm pretty happy again. Yeah.
Well, you mentioned it last time we talked to each other. You were pretty dumb. I don't know why, but you guys seem to have picked it up. You're on 6-0 winning streak right now. What did you guys work on to get to that point?
Yeah, I mean, before, even though we won the games, but it was not clean game that we want. So we are like, right now we are quite happy because we play against, we played pretty good against Vitality and Misfits. So at least we are like starting to showing off. So this week we're gonna be like final homework, some kind of like that. So yeah, we are looking for just playing same as our Scream.
Okay.
Yep.
And you will be playing against Roccat, which was your team last year. And Roccat has a bit of an history to upset big teams, especially G2. This time, you're on the other side of the fence. How do you think that will go?
Oh yeah, I mean, Roccat have a Kingslayer title because of us, Yarna and me. So yeah, I mean, they did before, but this time we are better than last few weeks. And they were a better team before that we matched first, but right now we are 10 times better than that moment, and then right now we are first place as well. So yeah, I'm looking for win for sure. Yeah.
Well, these are good odds, but tomorrow you guys will be facing Fnatic on match of the week. How do you think that will go?
Yeah, yeah. To be honest, we are looking for that match especially as well. But yeah, every match is the same. The same as just LCS day, so we're not having a pressure a lot. We're just preparing, and then we just prove that we are the better team.
Well, that's a story for another day. Thank you very much, Wadid, and good luck for today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laura. Always good to hear from Wadid on the day and how they're going to do against this Roccat lineup that's always plagued the G2 squad in the past, but Widid's got a point. He's part of the reason why they were called Kingslayer.
That is also true, but we've got to remember that last game where Roccat were able to find the win. Roccat, this is a team that I personally absolutely love to watch. I think this team is kind of underrated right now. Their carries in terms of Profit and Hikyu have really been stepping up individually. I love watching them play during the early laning phase and team fights, and I think they just need a little bit more experience. And speaking of experience, the opposition is definitely a team that has a lot of it.
Yeah, including 4 LCS titles back-to-back. Currently on a 6-game win streak as well. The G2 squad, the dynasty continues. And they did, in fact, take some of the best parts of last year's Roccat and augment their squad with it.
It's really difficult not to talk about that man in the mid lane, Perks. This guy's Zoe is insane. Yes, she is a bit of a broken champion right now on patch 8.3, but it's even more broken when given in the hands of the king himself. This guy has had a phenomenal split, and it's only gotten better with the recent performance boost of Jankos. This guy in the jungle has had some immaculate performances in terms of teamfight engages, looking for invades, and overall just having a very solid performance.
And I think Roccat is right to ban the Zoe out early on up against Perks. We all saw what happened the last couple times. He got his hands on this champion, one-shotting everyone. I don't think Maxlar's going to forget it anytime soon. And the Gangplank banned away against Profit as well. I'm wondering if they also take his Gnar away.
Well, I think that it might be smart. Camille and Gnar, two of Profit's most popular champions right now, up in the top lane. Also has played a bit of Ornn. We did see some tankiness from him recently last week, which I very much enjoyed playing. We also saw a bit of Janna coming out from Norscaran down the bot lane, a bit of a pivot from his typical playstyle. But let's focus in on some of the bans that we're seeing, because Pyra, I feel like we're seeing a little bit more of an NA favorite down in the bottom lane.
Yeah, Skarner's making a few ban appearances, and Kalista is also off the board for the Roccat side, and they get rid of the Galio too. G2 round things out with a Braum ban, and that's a Norscaran favorite, so a little bit of everything. You got your spice rack in this ban phase. Let's see what Roccat lock first.
I feel like that when you're looking at this Roccat lineup, getting yourself an early mid laner in the Rise could be favorable, but it seems that AD carries valuing the Tristana a lot more on the current patch. G2 very quick to respond.
They knew exactly what they wanted. They locked the Tahm Kench, and they locked the Camille for Wonder, denying it away from Profit. This is going to be his first crack at this champion in the spring split.
I'm really excited. Wonder, many people consider a bit of an underrated top laner. They say that we don't talk about him enough given how dominant he is during the laning phase, but I think that overall, when you put him on a carry champion, especially one that can be very lane dominant, we're going to see an excellent performance from him. Profit going to answer with another comfort pick of his own.
Yeah, not just a comfort pick, a monster of a pick. We'll see how that top lane matchup goes. We're going to be keeping our eye on it for sure. Blanclock's in the Azir, so always going to be rough going up against Perks and Lane Kingdom, and Blanc, his value tends to be more in the team fights. Azir going to fall nicely into that category.
Now, will Perks look to go for a bit of a classic in the form of Rise? It is definitely a big comfort pick for him. No longer can you sing the old song that the king once heralded. In fact, it is one of his best performing champions. Instead, he's saying, no, I want to hold off on my pick. I have a very deep champion pool. Instead, we're going to focus in on the jungle.
Yep, give Jankos the tools to make the engages. And honestly, this is going to fall right into the wheelhouse of what G2 like to do time and again. We have been talking about how Jankos and Perks have been syncing up on a lot of ganks early on. Zach is one of those champions that he's been able to do it on. We enter ban phase 2, Sejuani's removed.
Feel like you'd want to ban away the Sejuani and the Jarvan away from Memento. He is a control-focused jungler that invests a lot into vision in the early game rather than a lot of ganks. We've seen it for multiple weeks, and forcing him onto something like a Jax could potentially take him out of his comfort zone.
All right, Jinx banned away by Roccat as a Janna comes through for G2 Esports. Won't get a chance to see Jinx in this game, unfortunately, for Yarnan. Let's see what the last ban for Roccat. There's a lot of quick lock-ins, a lot of quick bans for G2 Esports side. They know exactly what they want.
Now, Norscaran has played Braum 6 times, and then he's played one game of a couple of other supports. And we've seen the most impact when he's had that Braum game, and then we saw a great Janna game from him last week. Looks like G2 have basically said, we want to take your bot lane support off of its comfort picks, and we're going to look to put him on something uncomfortable. And I feel like that's what a lot of their draft has focused around. But Roccat, they're likely going to edge towards something like the Jarvan. And then I wouldn't be surprised if they round things out with something like a Taric to give them a little bit more teamfight value.
All right, for G2 Esports, got to lock in that bottom lane. They already had a couple of champions taken away from him, so it's going to be the Varus locked in for Yarnan. It's been what he plays when he doesn't get his hands on the Tristana, and that gives this G2 lineup a lot of CC to start setting up engages.
Yeah, I like the team fight power coming out from G2 right now. They just need to round things out with a little bit more team fight prowess, because Camille, remember, she's kind of the hybrid between split pushing and team fighting. She's kind of good at both, not really best at either. So strong laning phase, can hold her own in the side lane, but she also offers a lot of team fight value. So right now G2 definitely drafting more towards team fighting and really finding a lot of pick opportunities. We'll see how they choose to round things out.
So the Taric locked in for Norskarin, filling similar role as what the Braum can do, and now the Jax comes in for Memento. Seen one of those before from him. It's going to give them a lot of power, though, later on in the game. Some tankiness to boot.
2 picks that we were just talking about earlier. I feel like G2 were very much expecting this themselves. They're going to round things out with a Corki, very standard in the middle lane. We saw Caps have some great performances on it last week, and this will be Perks' first game on the champion. So great scaling, great team fighting, and really good siege from the side of G2. They have the ability to play the 1-3-1. One of the big advantages that Corki has over Azir is you can send him off to a side lane and Azir can't really follow. So Roccat, they're going to look for a lot of team fights themselves and just try and group up as a 5-man unit once they reach that 3-item spike from the Azir, from the Tristana. Bit of an onus on G2 to build an early lead, but that doesn't mean their scaling is poor either. Just the emphasis should be on G2 looking to make a lot of plays happen in the first part of this game.
Want to see them very proactive. We have seen this Roccat team, though, pull off some unconventional things, the old 1-3-1s, the kind of things they were able to hold Vitality at bay for a long time, spring to mind. So while the team fighting is certainly there, it's not like they can't knock down some side lanes, and Roccat have known to be tricky on this squad. Some comfort picks for them coming in, the Gnar, and of course, the Tristana, the Azir, all these things going to give Roccat a bit of a chance to make these fights happen. G2 Esports, though, they're the kings of Europe, and not without reason. 6 games in a row, trying to make it 7 before they head the Clash of Kings up against Fnatic tomorrow. All serious, 100% business here, Vedius.
G2 must be terrified right now, Pyra. Roccat, known as the Kingslayers. They've had a great split so far, sitting in the middle of the pack. Only 2 wins behind G2. A win here could be big for this roster as we go into game.
Roccat, honestly, before the start of the split, people didn't expect anything from this team. To be sitting at 5-5 is very impressive. If they knock down G2 here and now, when G2 started to come online and reassert their dominance in Europe, that would be their biggest achievement yet.
Yeah, and the big thing for me is, we talked briefly about it before, Roccat as a team, I feel like it's very good. You see a lot of strong individual talent. Like, Prophet and Hiku definitely had a rough time on NIP last year, but coming into this year, they've been great during the laning phase. Teams seem to be much better at playing around their strengths. They've seen promise in terms of team fights, but you just see a bit of a lack of experience overall from the team. Sometimes when they're in a deficit, they're not entirely sure what to do. Sometimes they don't properly play towards their win conditions. Memento comes in as a leader, and he's still learning about how to lead the team, especially when you've got rookies and you've got 2 Koreans on the roster. There's a lot of growth to be had with this roster, and with the individual talent that already exists, in time, I can see this being a really strong contender for the top of the tables in Europe. But for G2, this is already a star-studded filled roster, and their eyes are already on the top.
Yeah, and you have to be able to take out Roccat, though, and you can tell that over the time they faced off, it hasn't always gone their way. We saw it early on the desk as well. Big part of that 11-7 winning record for G2 is the fact that it's been 6-6 in the last year and a half alone. We're starting off with some action, though. Wonder chasing down Prophet on his Gnar early on. Don't expect any all-ins just yet with a pair of Doran shields. But Wonder still trying to assert his dominance, make his presence known in the top lane.
Bit of trading going back and forth. Typically during the laning phase, the Gnar should have the early advantage, just simply due to the range that you have over your opposition. So, but Wonder doing a good job of farming in the time being. He has got himself the Comet, very common on the Camille, because it just adds to your harassment power. And Perks looks like he's running the gold chroma on the Corki. Don't know, is he trying to make a statement piece with that?
I don't know if he wants to say he's gold.
Well, we'll have to wait and find out, as in this matchup, what you'll often see is just a lot of farming, Pirate.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing too exciting happened. Minion Dematerializer even picked up on perks to help with a bit of the wave clip. But we've got to go back to top as Memento looking for a bit of a gank, but I don't think he's really going to find anything this early on.
Yeah, Wonder is a player that knows how to play not just solidly in lane, but safely in lane. He doesn't die a whole lot. We've given him props for that as well. And yes, he's up against Prophet. They gave him his favorite champion. He hits the level 2 to match on to Wonder, but he's holding his own nice and easy, has a little bit of a farm advantage early on, and Camille at level 6, that's a different story. You can get that all in going on the mini Gnar.
Talked a little bit about the top and the middle lane. Our eyes will also be kept on the junglers. Often Jax becomes like the next tier down below a lot of the tanks. We've seen Skarner rising in popularity over in North America, and now today 2 bans already directed towards the champion after Predator has become the new go-to on the champion. Perhaps we'll see it later on in the day, but instead Jax then becomes the next big power jungler, and his goal will primarily just be to farm. You're not really going to look for a lot of early ganks. You will try and find a couple of early skirmishes because of how strong he can be in some of those 2 versus 2s in the early game, but he wants to try and get ahead early because he does want to grab himself the Trinity Force, as we do see a bit of action happening towards the top side.
Yeah, not just love taps, too. They're both going for the kill. You can see the junglers have been hanging around. Let's talk about those 2 top laners, though, as well. Wonder, we've already kind of discussed a little bit, but Prophet, he is one of the big standouts for this Roccat team. He's delivering, and a lot of the time, it is on the Gnar.
Yeah, and it's funny because often we praise Wonder for having fantastic laning stats and overall a great laning performance, but look at how Prophet compares. You look at the CS differential, and you can see Prophet is often ahead more than his opposition. That is because Wonder does play tanks from time to time to give him the benefit of the doubt. But you can also see in terms of forward percentage, these guys love to play very far up in the lane. They like to have pressure over their lane opposition. Try and make things difficult for their lane opponent. And that's why this matchup is much more exciting than first meets the eye.
Yeah, it's also very evident in the way that they, just not only make their plays, but the rune choices. You mentioned a comment earlier on the Airy by comparison. Of course, Wonder is the one getting the better of that. He already has himself a 9 CS advantage, and he's forced Prophet out of lane.
Which is a little surprising because we talked about how when you are the Gnar, you should have a bit of a range advantage, so you should have the better CS during the laning phase. But a large part of this is Prophet has just been missing farm. Very unconventional for him. Been watching it a little bit, mistiming some of his cues with his autos. Perhaps he's been playing a little bit too much on 8.4 and his last hitting has been messed up a little bit.
Well, that'll do it.
He is behind just a little bit. Hopefully he'll be able to close that gap.
All right, so you mentioned still going to be fairly farm-oriented for the early stages of the game. It's all going to be about those 3-item spikes going into it. And no team really wants to commit those fatal errors early on that give you some disadvantages. Wonder does tank a tower shot, Prophet nearly at that Mega Gnar form. The Jax is coming up once again. If Memento can start things off, Wonder could be dangerous for him. He's got his flash, might have to end up using it. He sees Memento coming towards him. Let's see if he can walk it out. The hook shot, the hop over, counter-strike, Wonder taking some damage. He has the shield on though, so Memento can't finish him off.
It looked like Prophet had actually quickly turned around. He wanted to go for the disengage. Now Wadid gobbles up Norscaren.
A lot of damage acquired, Taste stacks building. PQ very early on, only sitting on the Doran shield. Can't really do much to punish this Tahm Kench. That's why we see it banned away so often.
First Tahm Kench we've seen in a little while, to be fair. Wadid, definitely one of his comfort champions, has shown good proficiency on it. Later on, you've got to track how well he utilizes his ultimate to move around to the side lanes. Fans are very animated today.
Yeah, they're excited. I mean, hey, this is a classic, man. The G2 Roccat matchup has always been impressive, and honestly, we look at this bottom lane too as they kind of just trade pokes back and forth. We know that Roccat as a team have always been able to kind of generate these incredible players and turn these relatively unnamed players into like incredible duos and mid laners and top laners and everything. And Yarn and Wadid are another good example of that. These guys playing on the Roccat lineup last time around. And they've just had such an impressive performance in the last week. We finally saw them really stepping up.
Yeah, that's what we wanted to see from this duo of Roccat. This duo of G2. Looking at these players, instantly think of Roccat. But over the first few weeks of the split, they definitely struggled, but they have definitely been on the up and up over the last few weeks. And G2 fans want to see that trend continue. No more Hyanan randomly dying in positions where he shouldn't. And Wadid trying to make the plays that contribute to his team rather than hinder them.
Talk about playmaking as well. On the Tahm Kench, we saw it last year. He was able to use that champion to great effect to set up some dives, set up some big plays. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. You got Jankos as well. I mean, all the tools are there for G2 to really get mobile early on. And as you mentioned, that's going to be part of their win condition, to try and make plays to throw Roccat off balance.
So far, going pretty even so far. Definitely not as action-packed as our game 1 of the day was.
Kind of hard to live up to that
yeah,
one.
it certainly is, especially when you draft double scaling once again. You imagine Jianen's going to go towards something like the Rage Blades. Definitely going to be valuable in terms of these extended fights. Looking forward to seeing how much of an impact he can have. Good ulti there from Prophet.
Nicely played. He stacks the stun as well. And, oh man, that's a lot of damage. Prophet is dishing on to Wonder, but now he's fighting inside the minions. Let's see if he can keep it going on that Meganar. That's a lot. Flashes up. He's going to have to use it. And it's going to be followed. Teleport coming through as well. It's going to be Perks coming in. Let's see if Prophet can get the kill. Hextech Ultimatum comes out. That all in at the level 7. But Prophet says, hey, no fair. You got a 1-on-2. He hops in. And he's outplayed. First blood for Wonder.
Beautiful outplay from Wonder. This man is amazing. Getting the outplay down onto Prophet. Looked like a dire situation, but Perks comes in with the TP, helps him secures the kill. G2, they get themselves first blood.
Yeah, there was nowhere for Prophet to go. You saw Jankos coming up. It already had a teleport in from Perks. It means Blanc is going to get some free farm. But, I mean, that was a sick play.
God, yeah, when we get the replay, I can break down why Wonder played that so well. Because initially, he definitely messed up. Things were looking dire. Give the credit to Prophet for a good punish. Ideally, he wants the tower to be hitting him, but he can't because the minions are in the way. Wonder then hits. This was the mistake that he made, but he wanted the shield. Unfortunately for him, the tower soaks up the shield rather than Prophet, so he's bought first to burn an early flash. Then, the stun here into the ultimate to dodge the Q, the sidestep to then avoid the proc, and then he dances through the minions to generate enough of a gap that he's forced to, or the Prophet's rather forced to close the gap, and he then just doesn't quite have enough damage, which Wonder is able to get the execute with the W. Really good performance there from Wonder, and I'm so glad we got to talk about this top lane matchup because it's definitely delivering right now.
Oh, that's definitely the reason. So a little extra gold in his pocket helps him make his way towards those level 2 boots. Of course, Ninja Tabby on both players here. But the big difference is going to be that Sheen right now. Wonder, one of his ultimate up and available for just a little bit, but Prophet is going to have to watch his back. Pretty even on that farm game. We got to check in with some of these other lanes, though. We've often talked about Perks in the lane kingdom, but Blanc took advantage of the momentary lapse that Perks had to teleport up to the top and help secure that kill for Wonder. Meant that he could shove things in. The Azir hasn't really been punished this game.
Wow, he is a little bit down in terms of farm, but remember that Corki's going to scale pretty nicely too. Very close to completing his Trinity Force, on track to getting it around 12.5 minutes, which is definitely an ideal time. But again, looking at Memento, invested pretty heavily in Vision early on. And it's quite fascinating because if you compare him to Jankos across the board, both of them have very impressive Vision scores. They've been able to do a lot in terms of investing in early control wards and overall just contributing to the wards on the map.
Yeah, you talked about this, especially with regards to Memento. This is his style. He wants to have a lot of control. He wants to make sure that his team is set up. And as a result, Roccat have played very well around Vision. And you can see this is why they have such a high Vision score in the ULCS. Perks getting damaged a little bit, but he turns it back around with Gatling Gun. And here comes Jankos looking for Blanc as he goes in, looks for the shuffle. And oh, he's going to be able to get it, but flash away. No! Turns things around, and Memento's too late.
Summoner spells traded across the board between both Perks and Blanc. Blanc wanted to try and get a punish down, especially with Memento hanging around, but unfortunately could not find it. Will mean that no kills end up going down. G2 still holding on to the early game gold lead. Nothing really gained off the back of that, unfortunately, Pyra. Ocean Drake is on the board. G2 have the vision, though, to spot out if Roccat try to kick it off.
Prophet found an opening to try and punish Wonder as we check back up on top. There's a level 9 to level 8 advantage. Now Jankos is coming in. Going to be able to hop over the wall and avoid that ward spotting him out. Flashes back and a jump as well. Hikyu and Norskaren getting out of there for good measure, and this should set up the chance for them to take the Ocean Drake. However, Memento is coming in. Let's see if they want to try and turn this.
Blanc is on his way back from base. But unfortunately, it looks like the G2 will not decide to commit towards the objective. Good buffer there from Hikyu. Norskaren, he was forced to flash because the 3 stacks from Wadid's passive was on him. He didn't want to get gobbled up and dragged back into his team.
Yeah, haven't had to do it just yet, though. So we're getting close to that 12-minute mark on the game. It's a small gold advantage for G2, about 900. Take a look. Talked about vision score for Roccat, but G2 as well. We saw heavily contribution, and you can see item already completed, a lot of control wards purchased for Wadid. In fact, that's all he's got.
Supports, man, they like to invest in vision. We've even got one from Hikyu over on the other side.
That's a good AD carry.
It is that Rage Blade that you mentioned that caught my eye. Hyanan already having it completed very early on is going to give him a lot of laning prowess. It's considered a very strong item spike During the laning phase, you can use the minions to start stacking things up. And ideally, you want to be completing this item around the BF sword pickaxe spike because of how strong it is at Blanc in a 1v3.
Yeah, Yanko just pops back, but he's going to be able to pop Blank back himself. Memento coming in, and it looks like they have the edge in numbers. Wadid is going to swallow up his jungler. It's a lot of damage still for Roccat. Can they kill Wadid? They can! On the Buster shot, HQ picks it up.
Very quick response there from HQ and Norskeren. They punished the gank that G2 tried to set up in the middle lane. Wadid doing his best to keep his jungler alive, but unfortunately, it costs him his own life. Roccat, they answer back on the board with another kill themselves, and now the pressure continues in top and mid.
Yep, junglers are going to run into each other too. Jankos doesn't really care that Memento is waiting for him as he gets left over. Comes around the side, smiting down, level 8 to level 9. Memento trying to make a play up towards the top. There's a teleport coming in for Wonder. And Prophet, got to see the lane gang coming here, turns it around, hook shot, already out of there. Blank was coming as well, but nothing doing.
Yeah, a bit of an interesting decision making there from Roccat. I guess they were considering Wonder for potentially going all in. So look at how quickly both Norskeren and HQ arrive in the middle lane. They actually just went straight from base up to mid. That are expecting this play to happen. Wadid, known for roaming around on this Tahm Kench, trying to work with Jankos to set up an early play, but instead it was Roccat with the punish. That's what I mean when I talked about, like, this is a talented roster. They have a lot of strong individuals, and they're able to read the map pretty well. It's just that experience. They haven't been playing that long together, and sometimes they make these small mistakes, and that's something you've always got to be careful of when playing against a team of G2's caliber. They look for those small opportunities to try and punish you, especially players like Perks in the middle lane. One of the big playmakers and superstars of this roster.
Yeah, and he's now rocking a Trinity Force as well, so kills no problem. Wonder making his way towards the mid as well, and a lot of pressure inside this jungle, around this side of the map. Wonder checking forward, tanks a tower shot. Pings as Prophet knows that there's no one there. G2 still trying to punish, as you mentioned, but Roccat are holding their own, and that is what is impressive about this team. The fact that these guys, with not a whole lot of experience, but a lot of raw talent, can really hold their own against a powerhouse like G2 Esports. Yeah, they have some new members themselves, but they've been on a 6-0 win streak, and that's all them.
Now, the thing is, both these teams have the ability to play teamfight. Obviously, Prophet going to be a little bit more reliant on the Mega Narc than, say, a Camille will be. But the big advantage that we talked about in draft is G2's ability to play 1-3-1 because of the core key. You have the package, making it easier to move from side lane to mid lane. And also you have the teleport to just join the fight should one happen to kick off. Azir can't really match that. He's not great in a side lane. And he's not running TP either. So I feel like the Rockat's going to look to try and force things like the Baron to draw G2 in and then look for team fights. But both comps can teamfight, and I think that execution of their comp is going to be really interesting to see because G2, utilizing the pressure advantage down bot, have allowed them to get this very first tower, and now they need to keep this pressure up so that coming into these next few teamfights, they will be the ones ahead, and they'll be the ones to kick off the fights and be able to win them.
Yeah, get themselves those advantages so that Roccat too far behind to really pull the fight. That first tower nets G2 a little bit of extra gold to keep themselves in the lead. It's now extended to 2,000. Ahead of their opposition, and the first big objective on the map going their way. Perks has also found a pretty empty mid lane as Blanc had to back. And now the swap comes in as HQ and Norskeren coming up towards the top side, matched by Yarnan and Wadid. But Wonder is still there, so they don't need to worry about defending their tower just yet. We could be in for a bit of a scuffle. Danko's hopping forward, looks for Memento, who ward hops, counter-strikes away, and in comes the Tahm Kench, Wadid and Yarnan delivering, and it looks like Memento thought he was safe in his own jungle, but 5 members of G2 strong prove him otherwise.
Love the play there from Jankos, flashing and using his ulti to catch Memento off guard. The diving isn't done yet, though.
Looking for Norskeren and HQ. Jankos trying to cut him off, and the Tristana has to get back to the relative safety of the tower. Cosmic Radiance coming in for just a few seconds. HQ isolated from the team, trying for the outplay onto Yarnan. He can't do it. Perks has picked up HQ in the meanwhile. Norskeren falls to Wonder, and now it's going to be an easy cleanup for G2 on the tower top.
Oh, G2 have switched up the gears. They brought their bottom lane up towards the top side. Good utilization of the Tahm Kench ultimate. We were talking about it earlier, Pyra, how Wadid loves to roam around the map and use this Tahm Kench ulti to try and find picks. Speaking of picks,
Blanc, that's ultimate for ultimate right there as Wonder went in on with the ultimatum. However, he's not going to be available. But now stop the push from Perks here, and Blanc is not getting out scot-free. Wonder's going in once again. Memento with the counter-strike is on. He lands it onto 2, but maybe they've bitten off more than they could chew. Wonder, Perks both flashing away. Wadid is there, flash forward. Oh, he's going to get swallowed up. That was real close call for G2 right now. And meanwhile, with all that's going down, Jankos and Yarnin are just busy on the Rift Herald.
Bit of a misplay there from Wonder. Feel like that he could have just backed off. Instead, he tried to look for more kills. Ended up sacrificing his flash and that of Perks in order to get away with their lives. So Roccat able to answer back with a mid-tier 1, but look at this. Just look at the mini-map. You can see both Tom Kench and Varus using their ulti to cut off the escape route, and then this flash from Jankos. Really good interrupt to prevent Momentum from being able to flash over the wall. And then, for some reason, Norscarin and Hikyu go back to the lane. They want to clear out the wave, and they don't respect G2's ability to dive. There are 4 people here, guys. 5 people, even. It is super easy for G2 to commit to this tower dive, and they're able to pull it off very clean.
And this is the difference you're talking about, the mistakes that the team can make, that inexperience can lead to. You're not finding yourself in a familiar position. And as a result, G2, the more experienced team, can punish. However, Roccat, they might have a little bit of tricks up their own sleeves. Wonder's going to hook shot out. Hello. He gets away from the Memento gang squad.
Guys are getting very excited.
They're having a lot of fun today, Vedius.
Yes,
and why not? I mean, we had a great game to kick things off. Roccat, G2, always a classic as well. Has been a quieter game, but G2 demonstrating some excellent macro play here and really schooling Roccat. Rift Herald now spawned. Perks cleaning up some minion waves. I don't think Roccat will be able to get here fast enough to save the tower, and Shelly goes charging to knock down the 3rd for G2.
Always love to see the fans so animated as G2 secures their final outer tower. Roccat, they still have the aspect of scaling and wave clear on their side. Azir, really obnoxious to siege against. Tristana, really obnoxious to siege against.
That's true.
They're like, it's really challenging. If G2 just group underneath the tower and then try to walk underneath it because of how much poke and harass and wave clear Roccat have. So what they'll need to do is G2 will need to take advantage of the Tom Kench ulti to move between side lanes, but also they'll look to play the 1-3-1 style from this point on. They don't actually need to fight Roccat at all. They know they have that win condition available to them if they're forced into it, and right now they are much stronger. But the 1-3-1 is the safer opportunity, and G2, based on how they've been performing over the last few weeks, I imagine should be able to execute a 1-3-1 style fairly effectively.
Yeah, we heard it from Wadid in the pregame interview. He talked about how they weren't happy about their wins in previous weeks because they just weren't very clean. They were getting wins, but they just weren't executing to the level that they expected of themselves, and that really changed last week. So now we're seeing this clean G2 that doesn't really make a whole lot of mistakes. Maybe, you know, 1 or 2 here or there. But so far, this has been a very impressive performance from them, and it's netted them a huge gold lead here at the 20-minute mark.
Much slower game, Para.
Yeah, well, I mean, compared to last time, for sure.
You guys
took a breather.
Would highly recommend you go check out Unicorns of Love versus Splice. Very action.
Make sure you bring a seatbelt or something, though. Yeah. You're in for a wild ride.
Very, very enjoyable. But now, G2, much more of the calculated approach. They will be going up against Fnatic tomorrow in our match of the week, which is
a wild ride.
Certainly going to be hype. A lot of fans are looking forward to that, especially given that both teams seem to be playing on form. G2 continuing that on-form performance up against Roccat so far.
Winning this one with Netman win number 7 in a row. Fnatic slightly behind them at 5, but both teams really been getting back to form early on in the split. We had, you know, topsy-turvy standings. No idea what was going on. Everybody obviously still competitive, but the order's reasserting itself a little bit. Fnatic, G2 climbing up the ranks. We'll see what G2 end up doing here as they're just kind of controlling the map. There's lines of wards in the middle trying to push this war of attrition. They've opened it up, of course. But that's no rush to take anything.
Yeah, let's not forget Roccat as a team truly shine once you hit the 20-minute mark. They're much more of a mid-game focused team rather than early game 1. And this is where G2 now have to really start to be careful because the Baron Dance will begin. You can see a couple of control wards already towards the top side of the map for Roccat. So they still have some control over that area of the map that right now they can't afford to completely give up. Unfortunately for them, G2 are controlling these sideways very effectively, and they have their eyes set on Hikyu.
Cleaning up as much of the vision as they can so he doesn't see him coming. Jankos looks to hop, but he doesn't decide to take it at the end of the day. Just for forcing Roccat back over and over again. 22 minutes here. Not going to rush down the Baron, not going to rush down the dive. Playing that 1-3-1 out and dragging Roccat all over the map.
But this is it. This is really important for those guys at home that get those early game leads in your solo queue matches and you just don't really know how to close things out. And watch how G2 push the waves up, move into the enemy jungle, steal away the camps, drop a couple wards, go back out, push the waves up. And they're just going to keep repeating this process over and over and over again until eventually they're in a position where they have full vision control and they can either start the Baron or they wait for Roccat to face check, they find a pick, and then they start the Baron. But it's all with the setup of we need this Baron in order to properly close and break into the base of Roccat, especially against all this wave throw on the side of Roccat.
Yep. So Wonder brings a few friends to try and help clear out the way, but Prophet had already dodged away. Now, the rest of Roccat are arriving. Let's see if they can get here in time. Chains of Corruption already. Yarnan used that to make good his team's escape. So G2 decided to go a little bit far deeper than maybe they needed to. However, not punished for it. And meanwhile, Perks is going to find not quite an empty tower in the top. PQ's there to try and clear away 2 items for Tristana coming in. But he's got to contend with Perks.
Nothing really gained or lost for either team there. G2 ran the risk, Roccat ran the risk of G2 starting Baron, but then Roccat recognized, hang on, they've got their AD carry support and top laner down the bottom lane. There's no way they're going to 2-man Baron, so we actually don't have to worry about that. We can send 4 members bot lane and maybe even find ourselves a kill. But G2 able to disengage, did very quickly gobbling up Yarnan, keeping him to safe, taking him to safety rather.
Yeah. A lot of respect though for G2. Not going too deep all the time. Yes, of course, they went and tried to get the kill off onto Prophet. But not really leaving a whole lot of opportunity for Roccat to punish super hard here. EQ on wave clear duty still for a little while. You mentioned it was going to be a lot about farming. It certainly has been the case. Both AD carries, both mid laners, all that good stuff. Starting to see those item spikes come in though. Perks on 2 has kept Blanc off a little bit as he's struggling to try and keep clean the mid lane. Of course, his fun disc goes down. G2 Esports and Roccat fighting over blue buff. But G2 don't want to hard commit once again.
I was like, I want to talk about something, but I just completely forgotten what I wanted. Yeah, exactly that. Memento, that's what I wanted to talk about. Look at his items. We talked about how typically on Jax you want to go for the Trini Force, but if you fall behind, you kind of force the pivot because of how expensive the item is.
They go very tanky.
It looks like that his initial thoughts were maybe I can go for an Iceborne Gauntlet, still get myself the Sheen, and then have a bit of armor in there too. But now he's like, no, I'm really far behind and all of my jungle's being stolen. I'm just going to have to go full tank and rely on the damage dealers. And this is, again, another great tip for players at home. If you're behind, just build tank. You have carries on the team, you know, be willing to pivot. You don't have to invest in the Trini Force, because if he did, coming into the next fight start inevitably going to happen, he will be very squishy, and G2 could just very quickly shred through.
And you can see why Roccat are playing a little skittish then, because they're just a little gold starved. Now, things are starting to change a little bit. Blanc does manage to pick up his Leandri's Torment. So he's got 2 items and a Blasting Wand to try and dish some damage. Scaling on the Roccat side, you mentioned it earlier on. These guys are going to be very happy if the game goes very late, but they don't want to give up any more advantages. Perk's still firing away, hurting these minions in. He's actually brought Norskaran and Hiku here to try and contend with. And G2 are just living inside this Roccat jungle, keeping the vision clean.
That's the plan. They need to gain control of the river, though. They do have a couple of control wards and a sweeper on Wadid, so I imagine he's going to use that to sweep through the Baron River. Sitting in a brush would not be that high of a priority. But again, look, push in the waves, go back, clear vision, push in the waves, go back, clear out the vision. It's a very repetitive process at high pro play.
Try to keep things clean, not give any mistakes over. I mean,
Exactly
we have seen one fight go awry, really turns things around, and Roccat have been one of those teams that they, as well as G2, can also punish. Sometimes the punishment is a little more chaotic, but G2, they just don't want to really give up any edges. They can also do things like this, solo out an Ocean Drake. It's free objectives for G2 Esports.
I would really like Wadid to sweep through the river, though. The fact that they have no control ward inside the Baron Pit or outside, it frustrates me a little bit. But if you wait at least 3 minutes, you know that there's guaranteed to be no vision. So as long as you can maintain control over the enemy jungle for 3 successful minutes, then you can secure that area of the map. But obviously they have to back, they have to refresh their wards, and they end up, they keep losing vision over the river. So this Baron isn't actually that scary for Roccat. They're always very aware of when G2 is starting it. But now we see 3 items finish for Perk, so maybe they'll look to actually force it rather than just wait for the possible pick.
Yeah, referring to the rapid fire cannon. Of course, Roccat are also starting to build these items up as well as the time goes on. The Frozen Mallet comes in for Prophet. He's going to have that crazy team fighting capability to really try and take it to the rest of them. We've seen Prophet do some gnarly things on this Gnar.
Yes, we have.
Pun maybe intended.
Frozen Heart also completed for Memento. Looks like Blanc working towards a Death Cap. A little bit of a weird third item choice. I think I would have preferred something like the Void Staff, but he says, okay, there's not that much magic resistance on the enemy side. I can afford to go for the extra damage route. We'll see how that works out for him a little later.
EQ a little far out in lane, but G2 not going to go and shut him down. Roccat have been playing this very defensively for a little while. It's no wonder with how much of a deficit they find themselves in. 5,000 gold down, losing out on a couple of dragons, which means they'd need to burst down anyone on the G2 side. But G2 are not going to pull the trigger. And we see the story of this game, how the damage dealt has been affected. And a lot of this damage in the top lane, I feel like, has been to each other.
Yeah, a lot of trading back and forth has resulted in this kind of damage output. That's what happens when you have a lot of 1v1ing off the side lane. But overall, those damage numbers are actually pretty low.
Well, I mean, you look at the game, right?
Yeah, exactly that. That has been the nature of things. More pink wards come out, Pyra.
This is how you inflate your vision score.
It's the ward wars.
It is.
Remember, Pyra. Like, the thing is, when you have Jankos, very heavy vision score. You have Memento, a very heavy vision score. Two of the league's greatest vision junglers. You're going to have the greatest battle of the ward wars. And that's how it gets riveting, exciting. But now we see the fight.
Might get some real wars at this point. Yanko's trying to find Norskaren, gets blasted away by EQ. G2 trying to go in for a fight and get knocked back, but at the cost of an AD carry ultimate and a support flash. Memento clearing out vision once again. G2 go right back to business as usual. However, Perkz and Jankos are on top tier and uncontested.
They actually have direct line of sight onto that tier 2. Perkz does have the support of his jungler, but they can't commit to it. Midwave pushed out once again. Will G2 go for the force? What do they have their eyes on? Tankkench ulti is available, remember.
Everyone is pinging. They know the action might be coming in soon. Wonder has found out Prophet, but the Narbar is building. He's throwing the boomerangs time and again. Woodid and Yarnan are there, trying to make a play around the side. Cosmic Radiance comes down. Norskaren is going to be alive for a few more seconds. EQ has a little more invulnerability to work with. Pulled back in by Jankos, forcing his flash out. Trying desperately to clear these waves as Perkz just keeps packing away. And in goes Jankos again. EQ might be isolated here. He's not going to be able to hop out. He's taken down by Perkz. Meanwhile, Yarnan and Woodid have pulled the trigger to dive behind just to help secure this one up. And now without an AD carry, is this the opening for G2 to try and force the Baron?
We finally see more kills, Pyra. G2 pick themselves up another one. Goes on to Perkz in the middle lane. They secure themselves another tower as well. Another good use of the Tankkench ultimate as an extra bit of insurance in the event that EQ was able to get away. Still has his flash, didn't help him that much though, and now G2 finally kicking off the Baron.
All right, about as safe as you can get for this Baron. They've got a lot of vision and they know that Roccat can't contest it. Roccat also know that's not even going to try. So the long contested objective, the Ward Wars, have a clear winner here, Vedius. It is G2 Esports.
One could say that Jankos was a god of war. Yep, anyway, Perkz, let's see how this play all kicked off. He just decides to go ham in the 2 versus 2. Norskaren used the ulti very early on, but even with it, Perkz is able to get a lot of damage off beforehand. EQ, I believe, has already used his jump, and then he just sticks around. Again, a little bit too long. Should have conceded the tower. Doesn't respect the engage from Jankos. And then he gets interrupted with an ulti from Jankos. And then Yarnan and Woodid were there just in the event that the enemy AD carry was able to get away.
God of Wards.
God of Wards.
All right, buddy, that's what you got it today. So 31 minutes now, G2, they've got the Baron buff. They're starting to push a little faster. Let's see what they can get done. And it seems like Roccat just don't have a way to get into this game. They're trying to play as defensively as possible. We've talked a lot about the scaling on this team, but they're just not given an opening. What can they do?
Well, you got to backtrack to the draft as well. Remember, we talked about putting Roccat on champions that they're not as comfortable on. We saw a Jax come out from Memento. We also saw the Tarek coming out from Norskaren. And these two guys are big playmakers in the mid to late game. You know, they're engaged players. But they've been put on champions that don't really do that. You've got a skirmisher in the form of Jax. You've got like an anti-team fighter in Tarek. Speaking of team fights, G2 trying to force another one. But I feel like Roccat, they're just not entirely confident trying to make plays with the champions that they're currently on.
And G2 could just use the Zac as a zoning engagement at this point. So they knock down yet another tower. It's 6-1 that Roccat have managed to grab. That was just the one in the mid lane. Meanwhile, Wonder still on the top. This just feels like the jaws are closing here. The 1-3-1, you mentioned that G2 have this option. Well, they are fully abusing it.
Yep. Squeaky clean League of Legends coming out from G2, aside from the one death. Going on to Woodid. Everything has looked great for them. They're now just putting pressure onto all 3 lanes. Roccat doing their best to wave clear. And Jankos goes in for another engage.
All right, how strong do they have to be before they just want to decide to dive and clean house here?
Scarin actually ended up using his ulti after that engagement.
Itchy trigger finger.
Yeah, a bit of preemptive. G2, if they wanted to try and go for a dive, that ulti is now unavailable for Roccat.
Memento getting a stun off onto the Jax. That's a lot of damage, but he's unstoppable. He's even going to pull Memento back in. Look at all that damage that Perks is dishing out right now. He's got 3 of the kills that G2 have managed to amass this game, but it does seem like with the Baron and powered minions, G2 Esports are perfectly happy to just keep firing away. The siege is on up against this Roccat team. Remember, the last time that these two teams met, it was a very different story. Roccat managed to prove themselves Kingslayers once again. G2 are not keen to give them that 2-0.
Exactly that, Pirate. G2, they want revenge for the last time these two teams met. They're tired of Roccat claiming the Kingslayer name. They want to go into their match of the week tomorrow, continuing on with their win record, extending it to 7-0, and we see a fight in the middle lane.
DQ is going to get the jump off a little late. Burned his flash as well, but no heal. Goes back to base to try and heal up. And G2 Esports finally breaking open this base, finding themselves an inhibitor. Easy peasy, just rotate down to the bottom side. As you mentioned, squeaky clean League of Legends. It doesn't get any cleaner than this.
Ghana just throwing out a bit of poke. Roccat doing their best to wave clear. And for now, they will only lose their mid tier 1. G2 willing to walk away, happy with that objective picked up. They're going to secure another one in the Ocean Drake. And you're expecting now the game to be slowly closed out from G2. I was expecting a little bit more action from Roccat. I was expecting a little bit more fight. But we'll see. Maybe that once their backs are pushed against the wall, they'll go for the play. But you have to imagine that looking at how things are currently for them, it'll be very difficult for them to win a fight. 11,000 gold deficit, 34 minutes.
They're going to have to burst somebody out at this point. I mean, they've got some tools to make it happen. We've seen Prophet make these PogChamp plays before. We've seen Tristana's really go off with crazy crits. We've seen what Azir's can do with a well-placed Shurima Shuffle, but G2 just haven't given themselves, or haven't given an opportunity for Roccat to really try and punish, and it seems like they are going to be destined for a 5-6 record after today, unless they can make some magic happen once more against this G2 lineup.
Well, let us see the Ward Wars begin once again. Well, not so much, actually. They're just setting up for the side.
That was a very fast ward war.
Yeah, G2 won it. More like a ward battle. Now, you want to keep mid lane pushed in so the super minions are constantly threatening Roccat. You then keep moving between top and bot. Largely just keeping Camille down in the bottom lane, but maybe they use the Charm Kench ulti to secure a quick tower. Wonder may even be able to secure this for himself.
Prophet on wave clear duty this game. Haven't really seen him a whole lot outside of that laning phase when he tried to get the outplay onto Wonder and got outplayed himself. It does seem like Roccat have been cowed here. Let's see. Prophet, no, Wonder's going to dodge away from the boulder toss. And G2 looking to close this trap and close out this game. Only giving up the 1 tower and the 1 death. All 35 minutes long. Wonder should be able to polish off bottom tower with 1 more auto attack. The rest of G2 up towards the top side. Perks and Yankos coming down to give him some backup. Desperation fight time for Roccat trying to dodge the damage, but they are not giving as good as they're getting.
Up in the top lane, Yananawa did continuing pressure as well. The map is being split up by G2. They'll secure another tower. Roccat, do something. You're going to lose your base anyway. You may as well end in a dramatic fashion.
We'd like to see this Roccat team go out in a blaze of glory. We've certainly seen them come back from crazier things. Vitality
Roccat.
game comes to mind when they got some really nutball plays. Blanc, Memento just trying to hold on, but yeah, they're just not pulling this trigger. Let's see if they can do it. Oh, hop away from EQ. Not a whole lot right now, but trying to get Wonder as he's able to hook shot away once more. Perks, it seems like this guy is never in any danger right now. It's oh so easy for this G2 squad to try and clean up. Rockat's base seeming to completely belong to the G2 Esports squad. Roccat, they're trying.
Underneath your tower, go for the play. Here it is.
Big Narbar, but he's rooted up. Prophet, can he stay alive? Can he make something happen? Cosmic Radiance comes in, and there will be no kill. Memento staying alive for a few more seconds. G2, though, they are already out. The super minions are marching in the top. They're marching in the bottom. G2 see this win. I think everybody sees this win at this point, Vetty, as there's not a whole lot that Roccat have been able to do all game long. They've been slowly losing it out.
Oh god, that's a 3rd inhibitor from G2. Here we go, engage from Memento.
Desperation fight, looking for Yankos right now. He gets swallowed up by Wadid. Nothing doing right now. They just try to find the kill, but they've not got anything at all. Jumping onto Perks. He's able to Valkyrie away to safety. Prophet now has to turn back around. Wonder flashing away. Big Rocket forces Roccat back. Over and over again.
Baron is up. Wonder lost a bit of his health, but he has to TP. Oh, Roccat, they've set up another tower, and they've said, You shall not pass. Fortunately for them, G2 don't want to. They have their eyes set on another Baron, if they want it.
Might just be able to do it with 2-3 members. That's what it looks like right now. And with big minions marching in the top, in the bottom, Roccat, they're going to have to make something happen fast if they want any chance. No, G2 aren't even going to go for it.
Blue team's turret has been destroyed.
I don't think they need to rush anything just yet. Just getting a couple of wards down. Couldn't Memento go for the steal? It's pretty much your only win condition at this point. I just want to see Roccat go out, as you rightly said, Blaze of Glory. The game will eventually be over if you just sit and wait. G2 are clearly too good at just playing the slow, calm style. They will concede the Baron. Roccat don't feel confident. They're going to try and go for the base defense. I want to see it happen, Power. I want to see that 5-man Shurima shuffle.
You got to do something. Even if you can't get a single kill, even if you just lose the game off the back of it, it is better than just losing it slowly. And Roccat, you know, if they've had this reputation as Kingslayers, they've been able to pull out crazy victories from the jaws of defeat before, but I mean, this is just painful to watch.
Yeah. I mean, it's great if you're a G2 fan.
I mean, fantastic,
yeah,
right? You're really gonna go. You're about to go 7-0, but I mean, has it ever looked so easy?
I mean, this is just the power of G2. This is the growth that they've made. We did talked about it. We're 10 times better than what we were at the beginning of the split, and I feel like it's hard to argue with that based on their current performance. Yanin securing a very easy inhibitor. Has Wadid right behind him, just in case. And we got Baron empowered minions, super minions to boot, will be coming in from the bottom lane.
All right, that's 2 inhibitors. Eyes on the third. Perks just needs a couple more auto attacks to make it happen, and he will be able to get it. So, it's all left, but the Nexus turrets. Roccat, it is now or it is never.
Please fight, Roccat. Fight for our amusement.
Do it for Vedius, guys. Roccat trying to hang tough. They just keep on wave clearing over and over and over again, holding on to hope, but Roccat, their base is in tatters. G2, they're not worried about a thing right now.
Look at all the wave clear from Roccat. They're just like, no, we will continue to clear these waves out for as long as we live. Will G2 be the one to force the fight? Or are they just going to continue with the slow and poking play?
So just keep letting the minions do the dirty work. G2 Esports can sit back and relax while this is all happening. So, Super Minions in 3 lanes. Roccat unable to touch these G2 members here. It's looking like we're just shy of the 40 minutes. There's the Chains of Corruption looking for Norskaren, forcing out the ultimate from him as well, and it looks like the Zac goes bouncing, bringing Prophet back in, and that is 1 kill. G2 hit the go button, and it looks like Roccat didn't have much of a chance to get smacked back in. A double kill. Shurima Shuffle Divide is not going to do a whole lot, but buy some time. Memento going down. There's the triple kill. Yarnin's looking for even more, but Hikyu and Blanc are trying to hold on to this game. Wonder goes in, tax sweep. He's going to fall down at the end of it all as Blanc picks him up, but it is only going to be the Nexus turrets remaining. But it swallows up Perks, and they're going to be able to clean up, and by royal decree, G2 have slain the Kingslayers.
Well played from G2. 7th win in a row. Very, very, very clean League of Legends.
They didn't give Roccat a chance.
No, I think if you want, I think that's a performance they can be happy with. You know, they've been disappointed over the last few weeks saying, that win was messy, the wins could have been better. This is definitely the G2 Esports that many fans wanted to see. And also for Europe, the hope that G2 could return to the caliber that they once were.
And maybe even surpass those limits
Perhaps.
as well. I mean, it's a long way before some of those international events start coming up. These guys are definitely looking in playoff form for the time being, though, and they have made a very powerful statement that they belong in the top of the EU LCS standings here in Week 6.
And they have set themselves up nicely for tomorrow's grudge match between Fnatic and G2. They continue their 7-0 win streak. Can Fnatic do the same up against H2K, which will be our next game of the day? Commiserations to Roccat. We didn't really get to see much from them.
No, all the things we talked about, Prophet on his Gnar, Blanc being able to maybe make some big plays in the later game on Azir, the Tristana from Hikyu, none of it came out. Normally we're used to seeing at least one of the Roccat members step up and make the hero plays, but it seemed like instead of one of the cylinders firing, none of them went off today.
Yeah. A little unfortunate. Memento doesn't feel like that Jax is one of his comfortable picks. He tried to make a couple ganks here and there, but he couldn't really quite have the impact that I imagined he would have liked to. And it just, unfortunately, once Roccat lost that early bot tower, G2 just knew exactly what to do on the map. They moved around so fluidly. They took every objective so effectively. They played the vision game very, very patiently. There was no chaos. There wasn't overeager fights. Many people were in the right position at the right time, and I just feel like this was a very, very solid performance from G2, while it may not have been the most exciting one overall.
Yeah, systematic destruction, though, for Roccat. They just really couldn't get anything together because G2 just so thoroughly shut them down. We're going to be hearing from Perks a little bit, in just a little bit, I should say, and I really want to know what he has to say about how they just completely shut him
League
down.
of Legends could have been better. I'm going to be annoyed. that was really,
How much better can you
good.
get, though? I mean, look at this gold graph. It just goes down and down and down because G2 just put up an impenetrable front
I mean,
to Roccat.
like, just look at the damage output from Perks. This guy had the highest damage percentage output this game than all players throughout the entire split so far. Great performance on Corki. Overall very solid. We've said it multiple times. Just very clean League of Legends. And unfortunately for Roccat, they just had to be the victims of this one.
And it extends to the draft as well. You mentioned earlier on, I mean, like taking off some of these power picks, taking Norskarin off the Braum, you can see it there, removing the Janna as well, just not allowing them to really be on these things that they can get the interview, or get the engages, disengages going. Speaking of interviews, we're going to get some more insight on that game, so let's send it over to Laura and G2's mid laner.
Thank you very much, Pyra. Indeed, I'm standing here with Perks after a really crushing win, actually. How are you feeling about that?
Well, I'm feeling happy. We played a pretty good game. I think we could play like a bit faster maybe, because it was a bit slow, but as people say, slow and steady.
And it's your 7th win in a row. Is it your final form yet?
No, we are so far away from our final form. Like, it's like we are still so bad. It's just like that. The other teams in Europe are just worse than us. Besides maybe Fnatic, which we will see tomorrow. Maybe we are better than them. And yeah, we just have a lot to work on still. But we're getting better and better, so it just feels nice to see progress and improvement. And the question is like whether we can keep it on all the time until playoffs and after. So it's a question for long term, but right now we're doing good, yeah.
Obviously, and there's just still time for that. I'm sorry. I want to talk to you about this game and specifically the Corki pick, because it's the first time you've been playing it so far, this split. Why did it fit in this composition?
Well, I think just Corki is strong now. I saw Caps play last week, so I got impressed. So I wanted to play myself, and I played like Corki is like my champ for like 3 years already. Like I've been playing it like on and off, even though like I have some games where I really into with Corki. But yeah, I think I'm really good on the champ, so I just picked it up basically yesterday. And the lane was supposed to be a bit harder, but yeah, I managed to go ahead in CS. But yeah, overall, I like the champ.
You were talking about Caps. You will be facing him tomorrow. It's going to be match of the week, G2 versus Fnatic. How do you think that will go?
I think G2 will win. Like Fnatic is the best team with us right now, but I just think we have an edge over them in every role, like bot, top, mid, and jungle. Everyone is better. Maybe if I have a bad day, Caps will like Smurf, but I think I'm better than him, so it'll be fine.
Well, that's a story for another day. Thank you very much for joining you for the moment, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
We're gonna take a short break, and right after, it's gonna be H2K versus Fnatic, so don't go anywhere.
Get the kill, Hextech ultimatum comes out. That all in at the level 7. The promise is, hey, no fair, you got a 1-on-2. He hops in, and he's outplayed.
꿀팅이야. 야, 거를 다, 거를, 뭐, 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 뭐,